Okay, so I am making a card wallet out of this lovely brown espresso leather. But the first thing, because it's a design that I haven't done before, it's just a rough design we've drawn out on paper. I always like to do it first using this crazy foam. It's great for this sort of thing. You don't have to stitch it, you can staple it together, kind of make sure that it does what you want it to do. So I'm just going to cut it to size. So what did we decide? 10.5 centimeters high. So 10.5 is there. Let's get my trusty knife. And then the amount we've got to work with is just over 24. That's actually bigger than I expected it to be. I think I ordered an A5 piece, so it came a little bit bigger. So 24 is what we've got to work with. Oh, so 20, 44. So I'm just going to work out the best way to create this design. So that we're not having to cut anything before it's ready. So the design picture that I was given had a 3-way fold. But I'm just going to work out the best way. I had a 3-way fold and then it kind of had a bit kind of on an angle like that. So that would be 1 hole, 2 holes. So we just got to work out stitching wise. I think he actually wants it a little bit lower than that. About there. So I'm just going to roughly kind of want it like a so you can make that line up there and then that wraps round to there like so. And then we would stitch. Let's draw that stitch line in. Good old fine Sharpies. These are brilliant. Ruler. Oh, that didn't quite work. So we would have to stitch there. So what I'm going to do is just staple where my stitch lines would be. And this is an old vintage Bambi. The old Rexel. I actually got this off eBay because I had one that Dave gave me and it broke. So this is, yeah, it's brilliant for this because they're just teeny tiny staples. Okay, and then we would want to stitch along the bottom. So that would give us space in there and space in there. Now this bit's bothering me up here. I think I just need to even it out a smidge. Well, technically it doesn't need stitching on that edge, but let me just check the picture of the one he sent me. Okay, so the one he sent me, I don't know if you can see, so it's actually slightly the other way round, isn't it? It does have stitching that goes all the way up on that bit, but doesn't go all the way around on that bit. Okay. So yeah, so now I basically just play with it for a little bit. So I am just trimming this down a bit because he actually gave me exact requirements of the width that he wanted. Okay, so when I trimmed that down, I didn't realise that actually the original design should have been curved there. So, design 1, no good. Design 2 works. And we only need to stitch it along here and along here. I think I'm going to leave that open because it then gives room to get your finger in, to get your cards out. And I think we'll just do a little trim of the corner. I'll have a punch that does this. It just kind of, when they line up properly, just round it off a smidge so that it looks a bit better. So yeah, that's the design. Now we just got to make it in leather. I'm looking at this thinking, actually, this might not be the right piece of leather. It should be thinner. Because it's not. That's the right piece of leather. Thinner leather, that's it. So I'm just going to trim that edge there to make sure it all lines up like a straight line. That's all straight there. Fabulous. And we want it to be 10.5 centimeters. So 10.5 takes us to here. Oh, I need the bigger ruler for my guidelines. 10.5. Because it is slightly bigger, I'm just gonna add some weight on there. Fabulous. Okay, so yeah, that's about right. So how did we do this? So I am just making sure everything lines up 100%, the same as I did with the foam, to make sure that the cards are going to fit. So I'm just going to mark with an awl, sharp pointy tool. I'm just going to mark where I want it to end, which is there. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. It's just literally a teeny tiny mark. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. And then if we turn it around the other way, we want it to start roughly here. Okay? So then we want to, it's not really, I think I'm going to freehand it, honestly. So here to here. To give us that swooping shape that he wants. Fabulous. And then I'm not cutting that bit yet because I just want to make sure that that will line up nicely. And where do we actually want to cut it? Make sure we're nice and tight in all the bits that we want to be tight in. So I've just made a line there with my nail so that I can find a straight edge and just cut that bit in there. And then we just want to make sure that they join up. teeny tiny little bit. There we go. So obviously this is skin, so there's always a little bit of residue. Fabulous. So that gives us our shape. Then we'll join up nicely there. That will wrap around the corner and stitch along that edge there. That edge there. Oh, can you hear the aeroplane? So yeah, before I do any fixing of things, I always just like to make sure everything will line up nice. It's quite awkward design to work with, even though it's very simple. Because of the curve here, it chunks up. So I think actually what I might do is I'm going to skive a bit of leather out of that. Oh yeah, that sits much better now. Excellent. And I think I do still want to take a smidge off of that corner there. But that lines up much better there. It's amazing what taking a slither of leather off of something will do. Okay, let's just get a little baby patch board out. All I'm going to do is just take a smidge off of that corner. There we go. So it hasn't got a sharp corner to get caught on. Much better. So I'm going to put some of these back. So I just want to trim any little bits. Good. There. A little bit on that top corner there. Yep. And a smidge. Now these are embroidery scissors, but they're actually really great for just trimming little bits of leather. I really like them. Fabulous. Okay, so the edges that we're not going to be able to get to once it's stitched, that edge I will burnish once it's stitched, but that edge I want to sort out now. That edge I want to sort out now. I may as well do the rest of that actually. So, because this is the full, it's got suede on the other side. Sometimes it can get, because it's a natural, it hasn't got extra process, it doesn't go through extra processes to give it a uniform look. You can get some stragglers on the back that I just like to clean up before I burnish. So I just want to burnish that edge. I'm really lucky, this leather burnishes really quickly. I just love the variation in the colour working with these. Fab. So I'm ready to start making some stitch holes, although the first thing I want to do is put my logo on. So I think maybe on the back, just the back of the corner of the way, out the way. Fabulous. So my little logo in there. So what we want to do is using some leather glue, it's called leather cement, just to hold down that edge there so that I can stitch it, and that edge there. So I just need to sit and let that dry for a bit before I start punching some holes. Okay, so I've left it to dry for kind of 5 to 10 minutes. So now what we need to do is make some stitch lines using a wing divider. So you literally line it up with the edge. That gives you a guide of where you want it to stitch, like so. And then I have my stitching punches. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hole. I also have a 5 hole, and when you're going around corners and angles and things, you want a little 2 hole. So it's a little set that I have. I think I'm probably just going to go with those 2. So we line up on the line, and again this might shake. It might shake a bit. I'm just going to punch through. And go all the way to that corner. Fabulous. Just make sure the cards are still going to fit, which they do, and they will. Yep, that's fine. And then keep going. Oh. To the edge. There we go. Didn't even need the 2. And then the customer has chosen which one? Number 4, I think we went with, which was this caramel colour. We have stitched it, just because I use linen thread, like you might see people burning the edges of their threads to finish them, but you can only do that with polyester, which is plastic, but I use linen, which is a natural thread. So I just stick a dab of glue, it dries see-through, just on there, and then I just kind of rub it off, but rub in the edge of the thread so that it finishes off there. Fabulous. So I will burnish this edge. Just want to check and see how many cards we can fit in. So I just grabbed a bunch of, these are quite thick cards, so they'll be similar sort of thickness to cards, like credit cards and things. So I reckon we could get at least 2 in this front pocket. Yep, could probably get more. What I do quite like about this design is once the cards are in, yeah, I think you'll be able to squeeze to get access. So let's go 1, 2, try 5. 5 in the centre. Yep, they fit in there, and you can just squeeze. So they're still in there, but they're not coming out, but you can kind of squeeze to get access to them. And with this, especially with this sort of leather, it will mould to the shape of your cards or how many cards that you're going to carry around. So yeah, lots of cards fit in there. So I'm just going to even off this edge. Make sure it is perfectly flat. Fabulous. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this brown Tokanoli instead of clear, because it's like a brown, but obviously the suede is quite light, and because we've put 3 lots of suede together, it's much lighter at the bottom than the rest. So we're just going to darken it up a little bit with some brown Tokanoli. I love the grain in this, it's awesome. So yeah, there we have it. And I do actually love that that opens up, but will go flat again. It's in your pocket, easily put it in your pocket, take it out, squeeze and get your cards out.